All right, for more, we're joined by Reverend Zwoi-Tahoe Nebutalu, who's spokesperson of the National Convention. Good afternoon, Reverend. Thank you very much for joining us on the program. Now, you've issued a statement on the conclusion of the two-day convention. Just talk us through some of the resolutions from the convention. We know there was great reflection on the draft roadmap to the national dialogue, outlining a 6 to 9 months process.
The convention endorsed the roadmap and also endorsed the methodologies that were actually used, that will be used during the dialogue process. They amended the proposals for the steering committee that was tabled to them. For instance, it was our plan that we should have the steering committee emerging out of the first convention. But the convention delegates felt that sectors needed more time to go and consult in a transparent process, and they were given 2 weeks to be able to go and do that. So they committed to the 2 weeks process. The other issues, of course, that sectors were not fully convinced that the 33 sectors which were tabled and invited to attend the convention actually is representative and inclusive enough of the South African society. And there were some other people who felt they were not included in either one of them. Mm-hmm. So the next process will be to try and take in additional sectors that may be interested in coming. We're going to look at that, constitute the steering committee, and then begin the process of the dialogues in both sectors. So the next few months are going to be very, very busy indeed.
Mm-hmm. Let's just expand on the methodologies of dialogue that you have resolved on, and more importantly, the suggestions around despondency, because you saw there was mixed views on the process itself throughout the weekend, especially on social media. So greater participation from citizens, many would agree, would somewhat legitimize the outcomes. It would be essential, or it would essentially be the wishes of the majority of citizens. So how have you resolved to deal with the need for diverse participation and despondency?
The issue of diverse participation, first, the people who did not come to the convention itself, who had expressed that they might not participate in the dialogue, the EPGs have decided that they are going to make it their task to be able to engage them. Hopefully they are going to come in. We have a big question, of course, of diversity in terms of race. As you might have seen in the convention, I might say it looks too Black African. Of course, the majority of South Africans are Black African, but we do need to make sure that it reflects our rainbow nation. And that is a task that will be embarked upon primarily by the steering committee that is going to be coming in the next 2 weeks, hopefully. And in terms of the methodology, South Africans are very stressed, and their stress levels came through there. So we, in order for us to mitigate that, there will be facilitators trained who can really calm down the delegates and make sure that they can express their views without antagonizing each other in a way that their voices can actually be channeled towards something productive that shapes the future of our country.
Mm-hmm. And then the resolution around despondent citizens, as stated, because we had been observing, both monitoring the convention itself, but also just the sentiment around the convention as it continued. There were those that were in support of it, but those who were quite despondent, saying really it's not an issue of perhaps needing to converge to discuss the problems. Everybody can very much characterize the issues. We all know them. What really becomes the problem is action beyond characterization of the situation or the issues. So in that respect, how did you resolve to ensure that a number of South Africans will participate in this process?
A number of South Africans who were quite skeptical are coming in and they're joining in. I think there were also misrepresentations in the news, as you might have seen today. For instance, people like the Kgalema Motlanthe Foundation were quoted as having pulled out of the dialogue process, and they came in to try and express in a statement today that they were never part of the preparatory task team, so they never pulled out of anything. In fact, the patron of the foundation said he would have come had he not had prior engagements. But the anti-dialogue lobby started very, very strong, and it was fading as we moved towards the convention itself. And I think post the convention, we can see the sobering out, and we hope that many people are going to join in. But as with any other dialogue that has taken place before this one, and in many other jurisdictions, it is not possible to get everyone behind a nation-building initiative. But that should not stop the people who are committed to nation-building and shaping the future of our country to dialogue and emerge with a vision for this country going forward.
Reverend, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. That is Reverend Zwoi-Tahoe Nebutalu, spokesperson of the National Convention, talking to us post the two-day convention this past weekend.